So, about 7 years ago, my dad bought an old painting at an antique store for my mom. It was a still life with fruit on a table, and it was painted really well. The thing that stood out to me was the woman in the background. She was looking straight at you with this stern look on her face. It wasn't done in the same style as the rest of the painting, so I always assumed it was added later by some art student who just started learning about adding figures into their backgrounds. When he brought the painting home, nothing really happened. A few weeks after that, though, my mom hung it in the kitchen, which was the only room with space for something that big. My mom and I were making breakfast one morning when we both turned around from our respective sides of the counter to see the woman staring at us from the painting. We laughed it off as the morning sun hitting the painting just right and making the colors pop more than usual. A few days later, my dad got up early to make breakfast and saw her too. Then every time he made breakfast, he saw her. And then one day, my dad stopped making breakfast, and my mom and I stopped going into the kitchen in the mornings. So it went on like that for several months. One evening, my sister and I were home from college visiting our parents. We were eating dinner when we heard my dad yell from the kitchen, "What the F did I tell you about?" He came out of the kitchen shaken and white as a sheet. We asked what was wrong, and he told us he had gone into the kitchen to get something and saw the woman from the painting standing directly behind him, watching him while he was washing dishes. He said she looked angry, but the scariest part was that she didn't look like she was painted on the canvas. She looked like she was actually there in the room with him. He described seeing her lips move like she was talking, but he couldn't hear anything she was saying. My sister and I looked at each other and burst out laughing because we both knew what he was describing. But we also knew there was no way anyone could have snuck up behind him without him hearing them. Our parents' house is pretty small, and it has hardwood floors, so you can hear everything going on all the time. Plus, my dad is very hard of hearing anyway, so if a fly landed on his shoulder, he would probably know about it. So we all went into the kitchen to check out the painting together, but when we got in there, the woman was gone. Again, we chalked it up to the lighting, but I swear that damn woman never looked the same twice. Sometimes she looked angry, sometimes she looked sad, and sometimes she even looked curious. The weirdest part was that I never saw her in any of the reflections on the stainless steel appliances. I don't think my sister ever saw her either, but I know she saw my dad come close to hitting her because she literally had to grab his arm to keep him from walking into the wall. Every single time my dad passed by the painting, he felt compelled to stop and stare at it for a minute, like he was expecting her to step out of it or something. It drove my mom crazy because he would do it anywhere from 2 to 5 times a day. Well, last year, my parents decided to downsize and sell their house. They sold most of their furniture and knickknacks at a garage sale, including the painting. That woman became an urban legend in my family that we would bring up every now and then to freak each other out. But none of us ever expected to hear from her again. About 6 months after they moved, my dad called me and asked if I wanted the painting. Of course I said yes. I mean, how many chances do you get to own a haunted painting? When he brought it over, it was wrapped up really well, so I didn't get to see the figure until I got it hung up on my wall. Sure enough, there she was, looking at me with those beady little eyes. And I swear I saw her mouth move, but I couldn't hear what she was saying. It took me a while to find the courage to go near the painting, but I finally did. And I could have sworn I saw the corner of her dress move slightly. Well, I just had a baby 3 months ago, so I haven't been able to get it hung up yet. But my husband and I have been taking turns sleeping on the floor next to the painting so that we can keep an eye on her. And she's been extra active lately. I don't know if that means she is excited to have a new set of eyes to watch, or if it's best because she wants us to hang it up. Either way, it's super freaky to see her dancing around in there. She looks like she's having fun though, so I guess that's good. I'll be sure to update if anything happens. But yeah, that's my story, and I'd love to hear yours. Thanks for listening. Yeah, wow, what a great story. This reminds me of that episode of The Twilight Zone where the guy brings home the painting and then he realizes that the people in the painting are actually alive. And they slowly coming out of the painting and replacing the living people in the world with themselves. Anyway, the top comment on this thread is from another user who says, I love this kind of story because I feel like Opus's dad is gonna walk in one day and say, holy crap, the lady's gotten out of the painting. And then we'll all get to read about that in an updated post. Another user says, Op, please tell us if her dress changes with the seasons. If it does, that's a sign she's getting ready to bust out. And another user says, so if you want to get rid of it, I'm happy to take it off your hands. I've got a basement that needs decorating and I need some good stories to keep me company down there. And that's exactly the kind of person that you should send a haunted painting to. Down in the comments, someone says, if the lady is dangerous and wants to kill you, wouldn't it be safer to hang it in the bathroom where you have to stand directly in front of it and there, ice water everywhere? Just a thought. And honestly, I would take that deal in a heartbeat. If my life depended on it, I would hang a scary painting in my bathroom. And lastly, another user says, this is creepy. I love it. You know, I bet the ghost lady hates leaving the house in the summer. You know, when you're outside, you get all sweaty and dirty. There's bugs and stuff on you, and then you gotta, put on sunscreen and, wipe yourself down with a towel. It must be such a drag for her to leave the pristine little world of the painting to come out here and deal with all that jazz. It must be exhausting to be her. Now imagine if that is true and Appa shows up to pick the painting up and she hasn't left the house in a long time because it is summer, and then she comes out and is like, oh, Appi, hi. Sorry, I haven't left the house in a while. I'm just not really feeling well today. You know, you mind hanging me up? Oh my god, that would be so funny. But that is all I have for you today.